but nothing that I've seen in the past compares with how I felt and how I feel about what's happened to my daughter.
Stephen Perryman called it a hideous, horrible crime. It's almost the more horrible for the fact that the victim's got a daughter who she looks after, or a child she looks after. This was the first time that the mum had been able to go out for months, and this happened. But she has regained consciousness, Dave.
That's right. I was with the victim's father on Sunday, and he told me that for the first time since the attack, the victim spoke the first words to him. But at this stage, she remains unable to tell us anything about the incident.
But people who live around Exeter must be able to tell us a lot about this guy, because you know so much about him.
Yes, this was a particularly violent attack, and we need the public's help to assist us in catching this offender before he attacks again.
Now, we've got somebody wearing a facsimile of this shirt, roughly the same sort of height, which is what, 5'9", 5'10", a bit above average height, fairly slim.
Yes, aged probably in his early 20s. And what I'd ask the public is, put this shirt together with that CCTV footage and start to think, you could be this person's mother, or you could be this person's friend.
And look at that hair. It almost looks like a beanie, but it's actually black, jet black mop of hair this guy has got. Almost certainly a local lad. He certainly would have been visiting around then in July. We've got his DNA. Don't worry about giving us any names, please. Anybody who this might be, we can eliminate them very quickly. Don't protect this guy. He's one of the most dangerous people in Britain. If it helps, Crime Stoppers have put up a £10,000 reward. You know the number, 0500 600 600.
Now, some good news. There are some major developments in the murder of a part-time policewoman we looked at in May. And incidentally, you'll see quite a few officers here wearing police Memorial Day ribbons. That's to commemorate colleagues killed in service. And Nisha Patel Nasri was the last officer to be murdered. Nisha and her husband had just enjoyed a wedding anniversary meal at home.
Listen, why don't you go and play some snooker?
Really?
You've got a lot of work on for the next few days, so go and have fun with the lads. I'll see you later, okay?
I won't be long.
Listen, what are you doing?
I'm just looking.
You're looking at what?
Nothing.
Ah! Ah! Help me, I need help!
Just before we're entering the snooker club, we get a phone call from the neighbour saying to come back quick.
We're breathing fire. We're doing all we can at the moment.
Nisha, please talk to us.
Just shift the breaths. A bit more space.
We're trying to bring her back to life. No hope.
And you're sure? And you just, and you're sure? You just
It's completely changed my life. You know, there's no words that can explain what it has done. She didn't deserve to die like that.
Well, it always seemed likely Nisha was killed with a knife from her own kitchen, and now we know that's the case because the weapon's been found, and that's unlocked a major clue as to who killed her. And Julian, because of course you've got DNA now.
Indeed we have. This is a significant development for my investigation. It's now been quite relentless for the last 4 months, and what it does mean is that we can eliminate or implicate anybody into my investigation.
You brought along some CCTV of a car just before the murder and just after. Now here we can see it just before the murder.
Yes, what we can see is it coming up to the junction and it's turning left into East Lane, and just as it does, there's a man walking across the top there that then seems to gather pace behind the vehicle as it goes out of shot.
Obviously you want to know more about that car and that man. You've also got CCTV then afterwards. We see it coming back and then CCTV of it going again down the road. And what's the significance of that?
You can see here in the CCTV that the vehicle pulls up behind this vehicle, then pulls out, goes up to the junction, and the lights are red. It's obviously in a hurry and it's edging forward through that red traffic light, and then ultimately it then turns right and travels at pace up East Lane towards Preston Road.
Now, also you want to trace that car. What can you tell us about it?
That vehicle is a light-coloured saloon Audi A4. It's got a black undersill. It was manufactured in 2001 to 2004, and there are about 8,000 in the country. Sorry, 6,000 in the country and about 800 in the London area. And the rear number plate on the near side, the light is out on that vehicle.
You also got another person who was walking along the shop. This is what, before the murder, wasn't it?
This is about 5 minutes before the murder. You can see him in the CCTV coming down here. Now, this person may have seen the vehicle coming up and making its way away after the murder.
Okay, there you have it. Got two people we want to trace there, and the car. If you have any information, Crime Stoppers are offering a £30,000 reward. That's a huge reward. Their number's 0800 555 111, and our number, of course, 0500 600 600. And instantly, that Police Memorial Day I mentioned before, that goes ahead on Sunday, October the 1st, and that's in Belfast.
We need to solve our next case fast, even though it's 4 years old, and the reason is we are really concerned that somebody's life might now be at risk. The detective investigating this says the killer used the kind of sinister symbolism you might find in a film about the mafia. But the murder of Heather Barnett was all too real, and it's only fair to warn you that the man who did this is clearly disturbed. Our film reflects that to a degree. He left deliberate clues that he collects from other people. And if you live in Bournemouth, it's just possible one of those clues came from you.
Weird as it was, we had a man travelling on buses in Bournemouth who was cutting head hair from female passengers. However, they weren't particularly perturbed about it, and in fact hadn't reported it to the police. It wasn't until we visited the crime scene in Capstan Road that we realised the sinister significance.
Oh, come on, you two. You two, you do this to me every morning. Get a shift on. You have to be out in 2 minutes if you want a lift.
Yes, you did pull my hair. I wouldn't say it if you
Terry,
didn't.
Ty. Caitlin, have you done your teeth?
No,
Caitlin.
I'm doing my hair.
Ask about your hair. Have you done your teeth?
It's lunchtime.
Shirt. Scruff. Yeah, lunch is in the kitchen. Pin and get your sisters as well. Caitlin, have you done that essay for Mrs. Fisher? Yeah?
Yes, it's in my bag.
You sure?
Mum, it really smells in my bedroom.
Oh, well, the cat's not well again. Right, we ready?
Yeah.
Lunch boxes, everything?
Yeah, well, whatever you're
Right, come on, out. Does anyone see my keys?
Heather was a 48-year-old single woman. She lived at home with her 2 children. She worked as a seamstress, and I can't find a single person that's got a bad word to say about Heather. In fact, I can't find anybody that would want to harm her, let alone kill her. But I am convinced that Heather did know her murderer and that she let him in.
Oh, hiya. Come in. You all right?
She was repeatedly hit with a hammer, but the grotesque thing is that the killer was not finished. One of the things that people working on this investigation have found very difficult to come to terms with is that after death, the killer has dragged Heather's body through to the bathroom where he's used a scalpel to remove her breasts. He'd also placed head hair in both of Heather's hands. This was not plucked head hair. It hadn't happened during some fight or disturbance and been pulled out. This is cut head hair that the offender had brought with him to the scene of the crime. For all the care that the killer took to clean himself up before leaving, he still managed to leave his size 9 footprints in blood.
Come on, boy.
Was this the killer? There is also this CCTV. Is this the killer crossing Charminster Road at 9:25?
Well, we left school and walked home. We walked in and it was just really quiet. It didn't feel quite right. It was almost eerie silence. The radio wasn't on, neither was the TV, and it was just a little bit strange.
Hi, Mummy, we're home.
God, stop. Mum? Where is she, Caitlin?
Bag's here. Mummy! No. Mum? Mum? She's not in there. Mum, are you in there? The door's stuck.
Yeah, I'll give it here. Mum?
Mum? Mum?
Mum? Mum?
When I saw her lying there, I just sort of, everything came to a standstill. Straight away I knew that she'd been murdered. Just knew that things were going to change from that point on and that life was going to be, you know, quite different to how we knew it, and I just sort of reacted, you know, as best I could.
I'll call an ambulance. I need an ambulance and the police.
I've got officers en route. What's happened? My mum's just been murdered. This is not a joke. Your mum's been murdered? Yes. Right. Is that your mum I can hear in the background? No, that's my blooming sister. Right, so where's your mother then? She's lying in the bathroom on her back. And what's happened to her? She's bloody had her pieces cut off her, for God's sake. Right, now who's done that? I don't know. I just walked through the door. We were calling for my mum. She's not here. Walked into the bathroom. She's lying on her back. She's dead. She's had her breasts cut off. This is mad. Had her breasts cut off? Yes.
I don't think I'll ever be able to understand why someone would ever want to do that. It's just not something I can comprehend, why you'd want to do it.
My mum, she's been murdered.
Cool down, mate. Cool down.
She was attacked.
Okay.
For these two children to come home and find their mother in this way is absolutely horrific. This is the sort of thing you see in films. It's the sort of thing you see in The Godfather. This is not the sort of thing that normally happens in Bournemouth. This case is vitally important. If anybody has got a scrap of information, I need them to come forward and speak to me.
Simply heartbreaking. I mean, it's hard to think how those kids have coped for the last 4 years.
The children have been very impressive. I think what we've got to realise is that not only have they been deprived of their mother, but the killer was so callous as to allow them to see their mother in those circumstances. So they've been very brave.
The profiler you've had is really interesting on this. He doesn't think that this is a loner, you know, your classic bloke who keeps himself away from the world. He thinks he'll have a wife or a girlfriend. He'll be in a relationship somehow.
Yes, this individual is likely to have good social skills. He's likely to have a partner. He's likely to be in a relationship, and there's every possibility that that individual knows what's happened, but also we need to recognise that they are also at considerable danger.
So the partner herself will be at danger, you think?
The partner will definitely be at danger.
Now, we've got an E-fit. We know this guy's about 5'10". I mean, that's a pretty good E-fit of him. This is the person who had blood on his trousers at any rate. We know he had a scalpel. Now, not many people have access to surgical instruments like that. And a hammer, something like this. This is sort of a rock hammer. Now, tell us about the shoes. You say size 9, size 9.5 shoes, something like this.
They are a Nike Terra Park. They are either size 9 or 9.5, with a very distinctive sole pattern, which is described as being similar to a goat's foot.
And you're pretty sure he knew Heather, which means he was probably local. Tell us about this fascination you had with hair, and this hair that was, it's not actually this is very, very similar, because the actual hair found in Heather's hand has been damaged because of the forensic tests on it. But this is the right colour.
Yes, we still haven't identified who the hair belongs to in Heather's hand. I'm very, very keen to identify that individual. I'm sure if I can identify that individual, I can provide a link between that individual and the killer.
We've already found several women who've had hair cut off from them by a stranger in Bournemouth. Doesn't matter if you're blonde, brunette, or if your hair's like this. If you think a man could have taken a lock of your hair in Bournemouth, please tell us. If you know a man with surgical instruments or a rock hammer, someone who was in Bournemouth 4 years ago at any rate may still be there for all we know, someone who knew Heather, please tell us. This man has a controlling streak. He's perhaps got a violent past. He could well do this again, as Phil says to you. Please call us, or at least over the next few days get in touch with the police. Don't let him kill again. 0500 600 600. Details too on our website, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. If you want it, the police can protect you. And if you need proof that calls to Crimewatch get results, listen to Fiona.
They certainly do. In February, we appealed for help to find this man who assaulted a commuter on a Battersea Park train. His victim, who almost lost an eye, took these mobile phone pictures of his attacker's upper arm tattoo. There you go, have a look. A Crimewatch viewer knew who it was and gave a name. Last month, Aaron Sunny Abiri was convicted of GBH and jailed for 18 months.
Back in December, we showed CCTV of a tube train groper in London molesting women at Oxford Circus. We got 30 calls, including several from women who said they had also been attacked by him. And that led to 40-year-old Iqbal Bukrali. He pleaded guilty to 10 charges of sexual assault. He's been jailed for 3 years.
Another of our cases was in the news last week, finally solved after 20 years. He was called the shoe rapist, a man who preyed on women in and around the Dearne Valley in South Yorkshire. He'd attack on Saturday or Sunday mornings, tie his victims and always take their shoes as trophies. We reconstructed 2 of his attacks, but despite garnering more than 300 names, he wasn't caught. But eventually he panicked. James Lloyd realised developments in DNA were catching up with him. He phoned his dad and confessed he'd raped someone when he was younger. He then tried to commit suicide, but was found just in time by his son. Lloyd was found guilty of 4 counts of rape, 2 of sexual assault. He's been given a life sentence, and since his conviction, more victims have come forward.
2 years ago, we linked a couple of robberies in Scarborough, but it turned out they weren't linked at all. What's more, in one case, the victim, as we thought, an assistant in a chemist shop, was in on the crime. Pamela Moon actually planned the burglary with her son Craig, let him into the shop to do it. They've now each been given 18 months in prison. The second robbery, a break-in at Scarborough Cinema, has another family connection, though a very different one. In this case, the robber's wife found herself watching Crimewatch with mounting horror, and in shock she said to her son, "That's your dad doing that." She was so appalled by the effect on the victim, she named her husband to the police, Stephen Miller. He got 15 years for robbery and possession of an imitation firearm.
In June, we showed CCTV of a man involved in a sexual assault in Watford. He followed his victim and a friend to a car park after a night out, then made a lunge at one of them. Daniel McNulty saw himself on the programme. Next day, walked into a police station. He pleaded guilty to sexual assault. He's been jailed for 10 months and placed on the sex offenders register.
Still to come, the decisive part that a viewer played in homing in on the killer of 7-year-old Tony Ann Byfield.
Without Crimewatch, Joel Smith would not have implicated himself in the murders. Without Crimewatch, the witnesses wouldn't have come forward. Without Crimewatch, I wouldn't have solved this crime.
Well, let's see if we can be just as successful with some villains Detective Constable Rav Wilding has lined up for us on CCTV.
And the first is a man wrestling with his conscience.
The man walking towards us is struggling to cope with his guilt, and he wants to get it off his chest. He's raped and robbed a girl 2 days earlier. Now, he wants to say sorry. In his hand, he carries a letter of apology. He stands here at the front door for a full 4 minutes. Eventually, he puts it through the letterbox here in Bromley in Kent. This is what's bothering him from 2 days earlier. Talking his way into his victim's flat. Once inside, he rapes her and steals her laptop. After 12 lines of remorse, his note ends, "From my heart, I'm sorry, Steve." Steve, if that is your name, and you really do mean it, call us. It will be better coming from you than someone who knows you. This man wants to cause carnage in a brothel in Ilford. He walks up to the front door. seems to get spooked, turns away, but soon walks back. He creeps up the path. He's wearing a zippered ribbed top and distinctive trainers. He pours petrol on the doorstep. He then throws a flaming torch, and the petrol is now a petrol bomb. The building bursts into flames while he runs off. Some inside were very badly burned. Who's the man with a vengeance? Saturday night in Farnborough. The pubs are out and there's a lot of clowning around in the kebab shop. But all the chucking out time banter pushes two of them to chuck their weight about, and there's a right old punch up. These are the two we're looking for. It all kicks off when our man in the blue shirt has a pop. Then his mate in the white shirt with a slaphead puts a bloke through the window, seriously gashing him. The fruit machine then flattens one of the girls. Who are the kebab shop to? They didn't hang about for the ambulance. They might be army lads visiting Aldershot. You tell us. Maybe it's just me, but I'm never sure about blokes who walk into shops with caps jammed over their faces. Aside from his England cap, the other thing that sticks out about this fella is his paunch. And he's been a busy boy. He's wanted for a string of armed robberies in 9 counties from North Yorkshire to South Wales. He's bagged several 100,000 and needs to be stopped. This time, he's in a co-op travel agent in Worcester. He saunters in, hangs about, and when the cashier's free, he pulls a semi-automatic pistol and demands cash. He calmly packs the money away in his holdall and gives the shaken cashier a 2-minute warning. Police have got his England cap. Give us the name of the bloke with a belly underneath it. This thief is prepared to play it long. To get what he wants, he'll follow people all day. His gang operates in central London, tailing people who withdraw large sums of cash. He follows this woman for an entire afternoon till he sees his chance and nicks her bag on her train home. And here's another one of the gang. She sprays something over this old man to distract him and steals his wallet. Give us names and let's get them off the streets.
So if you know any of those less than magnificent 7, the number to call is on the screen, 0500 600 600, or you can text us on 83199.
Over 30 people and counting have already done that on the Exeter case, for which many thanks. We've had 9 names put so far of someone who might have owned this and might have done that attempted murder. Meanwhile, Detective Sergeant Jane Corrigan is here, hoping for the kind of response that helped catch that car park sex attacker we told you about a few minutes ago, but she has another one in her sights.
They looked like a couple, happy to be with each other, leaving a nightclub in Brighton in May. They just enjoyed a dance together. But he was to show his true character in the car park next door. He wants more than a kiss, and she tells him where to get off. His response is to manhandle her onto the bonnet of a car and rape her. He discovers that she was a virgin. His response this time? He rapes her again. In fact, he only stops attacking her when his mobile rings. He pulls up his trousers as he talks, leaving his victim collapsed by the car. Here he is, still on the phone, running first one way and then the other out of the car park. Moments later, he meets up with some of his mates at the taxi rank next to the event nightclub. He leaves the scene, calm as you like, his victim still traumatised in the car park. Maybe his mates want to think twice about what kind of a pal they've got.
And Jane, maybe he would like his belt back.
That's right, Nick. He left that at the scene. Now, what we know about this belt is it's from River Island and it's a large size, but what we need to know is who actually lost it.
Now, you know quite a lot about him. He's got a mole on his cheek, I gather. We know he's got this sort of spiky hair and those sort of very bushy eyebrows.
That's right, and on the night he was actually wearing a white shirt that had a blue stripe, but he also had slip-on black smart shoes, and he's the victim describes that they made a clicking sound when he walked.
He's quite a barrel-chested guy too, I think.
Yes.
What sort about his cheekbones that she said?
They're quite prominent cheekbones, and certainly we saw from the CCTV earlier and from the EFIT, that may be the case.
Stunning callousness. He takes the phone call while he's raping her and just sort of breaks off to take the call. You wonder who's on the other end of the line.
I mean, this event happened, this 2 rapes happened in the event nightclub. It was a staff car park which is hidden away. He received the call, he went to the taxi rank. It may be that one of his friends called him and he went there, and we need them to call in tonight.
Well, it's quite simple. If he's your mate, just shop him. Fiona.
Now, a case we can tell you more about in the hope that you can then tell us more. In the early hours of the January bank holiday, Barrington Williams, his sister and a friend, tried to get into a North London nightclub, but 2 men, for next to no reason, took against them, big time.
6:15 a.m. on January the 2nd, bank holiday, and the 3 were still up for action even after a night of clubbing.
Listen, stay in the car. We'll be back in a sec.
The 2 lads went off to see if they could still get into another club, the Palace Pavilion.
Who do you think you are? Whoa, we're closed. I can't, it's 6:30 in the morning, we're closed.
There was something of an altercation on the steps of the Palace Pavilion. Someone wasn't happy. One witness describes what she thought was a handgun, but we now know it must have been an automatic.
Ooh, it's warm in here. It's dead over there.
Let's go out then.
Roll, drive!
Well, now we have some possible witnesses who may be able to help. We'll see those in a moment, but Barrington's mum, Beverly, is here. Beverly, how are you bearing up? It's 9 months on, and you know there are people out there who know who killed your son, but they're not saying anything.
It makes me very angry to know that people are willing to stay quiet. You know, they're willing to live with these people, killing recklessly on the streets. You know, I just don't understand their thinking. They're not coming forward.
Well, Fiona, you've got some CCTV tonight of potentially some new witnesses. Now, they were what? They were on the S2 bus.
Yes.
At the time, and you think they must have seen what was going on?
Yes, definitely, yes.
I mean, there's one woman on a bus in particular, when we look at her, you can see there she's sitting there.
That's right, yeah.
She turns her head there, so, and you think she must have seen what was happening?
Yeah, she looks right round at the time of the incident, yes.
So we want to hear from her. There's also a couple of people we see, again, it's on the S2 bus,
yes.
Someone getting on, and then there's someone who comes out, and again, we can see he clearly, look,
yep.
You see he turns to the left there, he's wondering what's going on,
yes.
As is she.
That's right, he comes right to the front of the bus, and he looks and watches, and he'll be invaluable to us if he comes forward.
Key witnesses.
Yes.
There was also a man who was handing out flyers at the time. We haven't got CCTV, but we have got a picture of him.
Yes.
He's someone you want to hear from.
He is. He was right outside the club. He would have had a fantastic vision of
and he may
the
have seen
shooting.
the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing, yeah. We need him to come forward.
There's a £20,000 reward being offered by the Metropolitan Police, which of course may encourage some people to come forward. You have had a pretty big response already, haven't you?
Yes, we have. We've had a lot of success with witnesses coming forward. People are getting more confident coming forward to Trident. I can guarantee anonymity as soon as people pick up the phone, and we have got a proven track record with witnesses.
Well, that's obviously crucial in terms of encouraging people to come forward. I mean, Beverly, people may be thinking it's 9 months on, time's moving on, the dust has settled. They don't want to say anything.
Please, I'm begging you, come forward and help us to solve this, you know. You just think it could be your family next, and you're going to expect people to stand up and talk for you and yours, so I'm only asking you to help me, you know, get justice for Barrington.
Well, look, you heard it there. Justice for Barrington, help Beverly. If you know anything at all that could help Beverly and her family, if you recognise yourself on that CCTV or you know who it was, call us here. 0500 600 600.
And a lot of people are calling. We're getting some remarkable calls. We think we found an important new witness in the Nisha Patel Nasri murder. We found 3 more women in Bournemouth who've had their hair cut by a stranger. One of them may have got a good look at the face of the person who did it. We've got I've got just 2 calls here from Exeter. Remarkable, this one, who talks about a man who had a shirt very much like the one that we've been appealing about. There's a lot of calls coming in, very, very good ones. Let's find out now a bit more about these wanted faces that you see around the studio. Jane and Rav can tell us what they're wanted for.
The first are a pair of convicted people traffickers, Ali Ekber Sorensoy and Mustafa Gozcu. They were part of a major operation smuggling people into Britain by air, land and sea. They fled before being sentenced in their absence to 16 years between them. They're both members of the Kurdish community in North London. Sorensoy is known to have connections in Sandy in Bedfordshire, while Gozcu has a handy nickname that might help us. It's Kiverchik, which means curly.
Paul Rupry is wanted in connection with an armed robbery in May last year. He's suspected of being one of 3 males who used a pump-action shotgun at a post office in Weston in Lincolnshire. 4 shots were fired into the door, while the family, including a child, were cowering inside. Rupry is 6 feet tall and has a giveaway tattoo on his right arm of a Tasmanian devil. He has connections in Wolverhampton, Peterborough and South Lincolnshire.
Clive Butcher is wanted for making and possessing indecent photos of children. He disappeared before his trial and was found guilty in his absence. Butcher's another 6-footer. He's 41, from Ipswich, and has a 7-inch scar under his right forearm. He has a pronounced limp after an industrial accident. Got a payout for that, and he has plans to move to Spain.
And Daniel Glendenning's another big lad, 6 feet 2, he's 25, a Geordie and wanted in connection with supplying Class A drugs. He's thought to have put together a stash of heroin and cocaine found after a raid on a house in Telford. He was arrested in another raid, but then went on the run. He was finally tracked down in his hometown Newcastle, but has disappeared again. He's another tattoo merchant. He has the word Dylan tattooed on his right leg.
If you know him or any of the others, please give us a call. 0500 600 600.
Now, forensic techniques are getting better all the time. Month after month, detectives are reopening cases which still haunt their victims, but which their attackers think have been long forgotten. This one goes back more than a generation, back to a Britain you'd only find now on a DVD of the Full Monty or Billy Elliot.
Good evening.
Well away from the clash of politicians, police and pitmen, the cathedral town of Salisbury had violence to contend with of its own.
It was at this hostel on Wilton Road last month that the attacker broke into a young woman's bedroom. He indecently assaulted her, then made off with a few pounds from her purse.
Where's your money? I said, where's your money?
It's in my bag. In my purse there. How did you get in here?
Monkey jumped the window. Here. Come on.
I haven't got very much. £2, that's all I've got.
That's all you got?
Yeah, I haven't got anything else, I'm sorry.
Let me show you something, eh? Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, don't make a noise.
He sexually assaulted her.
There's more money in the pot. Just take it. Take it. Please. Just want to go.
Hey, you won't see me again.
I would certainly like to speak to this man very, very soon, and very soon indeed. That is why we're appealing to as many members of the public as we can to come forward.
Where's your money? Eh?
I haven't got any.
Oh, come on, you must have. Where is it?
It's in my jeans, in my...
Have you?
My
Here?
jeans in my back pocket. Just take it.
Shut up.
No, please. Please.
Now you know what this is? Now, come here. Give me that roll. Keep still.
He attempted to rape her and indecently assaulted her.
Now, don't tell anyone, or I'll come back, and next time I won't be so kind, yeah?
So far, police have interviewed more than 1,500 people, and the publicity given to the sex attacks has led to numerous reports of peeping toms, obscene phone calls, and indecent exposures.
I was asleep on the sofa because I was heavily pregnant with my son. I was woken by somebody holding what was a Stanley knife or some sort of knife against my throat.
You move when you're dead, yeah? You understand me? I'm going to take my hand away and you're going to make a noise, are you? No. Right, where'd you keep your money? Where's your money? Your money!
In the kitchen, in the drawer.
Over there? Oh, you stay here.
When he first woke me up, it was like, what's going on? You know, and your stomach churns and you think, hang on a minute, this is reality here. This is not, you're not dreaming, you are awake. It's not who you think it is.
Are you messing me about? There's nothing in that drawer.
Yes, there is.
No, there's not.
You don't get time to think about it. You just automatically go.
All right. Here. Well, you're not having it all. How much do you want?
I don't know, John, how much you got? Is that 2?
Well, I've got my daughter's bike money. Was going to buy her a bike for Christmas.
I think if I'd have panicked and screamed or whatever, he might have got really violent. But I think I took him aback a bit.
Anything else you'd like? Anything else around you see? I want benefits. I haven't got anything else.
I was just waiting for him to leave. The sweat was running off me, to be honest. If he'd turned the light on, he'd have seen I was terrified.
You know I'm going to have to call the police.
Yeah, I know. Just give me 5 minutes, yeah?
All right.
5 minutes.
Well, go on then. Get out.
You don't really feel anything at the time. It's the aftermath. It goes on for years. You know, every little thing, certain smells, because he had a certain smell about him. And the voice. If I heard that voice again, I'd know it instantly.
For 21 years, the cases remained closed until science caught up.
21 years ago, from semen recovered from the first sexual assault, police obtained a full blood group. However, millions of people had that blood group, and therefore they couldn't progress the investigation very far. After several months, the case went cold and was wound down, and our attacker remained at large.
Today, if someone commits a crime, their DNA is taken and placed on the National DNA Database. Advances in DNA profiling means that if we get a match, then the odds of someone else having the same DNA is 1 billion to 1. All cases are being reopened. DNA profiles are being taken from old crime stains and put onto the database to establish any matches. If a match occurs, police now have the scientific evidence to charge someone with a crime they may have committed several decades ago.
At the time these attacks took place in Salisbury, they were very rare indeed. The effect on the community was immense, and the women who suffered these crimes are traumatised to this day.
If anyone wants to wake me up at all, my children or my grandchildren, they know to stand up to the door and shout for Nanny. Yet they don't shake me. They stand from a distance and just call me till I wake up. Because now that's the first thing I do is jump, punch.
What's extraordinary is you think about the impact on her all these years on. We're talking, what, 22 years ago? Crimewatch had only just started. Yes. You've had a key breakthrough, as we see, DNA. And what difference does that make to the investigation?
I now have a full DNA profile, so I can easily eliminate people from this investigation. I just need a name.
Well, let's think about the clues that we've got. We know that this guy was familiar with hospitals. 2 of the attacks were carried out in hospitals. He had access to a small white car. We saw in one attack he was wearing a tartan jacket, yes, wasn't he, which was pretty distinctive.
It was very distinctive, and we know that he was wearing it in January 1985, but he didn't wear it on the earlier attacks at late 1984. So was it a Christmas present? Did someone buy it as a gift?
You don't want to know where it came from, but put that together with the man.
Yeah.
And then we saw this twine used, this blue twine. You think you could get it anywhere, but But 22 years ago, it came from one particular place, didn't it?
We know BT, that was made specially for BT in 1984. Because of the diameter of it, we're able to say that was definitely BT.
So how would he have got hold of it?
Was he an employee? Did he have friends working there? Put that together with the jacket, the connections to the hospital, and give us a name.
And then this raised monkey jump that he used as well.
Yeah, for all our investigations, we can't find out where that's come from. But with that and the other clues, we're just after a name tonight.
Well, do you recognise any of that? Can you put it together? Do you know anyone who fits the bill? The mid-80s we're talking about, remember? Give us a call, 0500 600 600.
We did say at the start that we're after sex offenders tonight. Well, now some progress from an appeal that we showed a couple of months ago. Actually, we showed CCTV of a rapist in Bristol. It was Friday, 2nd of June. Almost as we went on air, police got news of DNA results which showed that he'd also attacked someone in Sheffield. And we've got a really, really good composite picture from these two women now. Just take a look at him, incidentally. Look at those eyes. They're described as sloping eyes by one of his victims, as panda eyes by another. And we think these may be his keys. This is a mortise key, this is a latch key. It was Friday the 2nd of June. Maybe he couldn't get into his flat in Bristol or wherever it is he lives. Do you remember that? If we don't get more on him tonight, if we can't catch him, well, we'll have a great deal more on him next month.
And another result to tell you about. In January, we showed CCTV of these two men wanted for a knife-point robbery in a bookies in Nottingham. A viewer identified this man, Musa Kamis Suleiman, in an immigration hostel in Hastings. He's since pleaded guilty. He's been sentenced to 6 years. But we still need to find his sidekick. Have a good look. If you know him, please call.
In July, we asked for help to find two men on CCTV, apparently running away after the rape of a 15-year-old autistic boy. One call to Crimewatch, and a 19-year-old man has been arrested and charged with that rape.
Also in July, we showed you a man wanted for rape and sexual assault in Stratford in East London. Dimitar Georgiev has now been charged with 2 counts of rape, 1 of sexual assault. He's now in custody. He's due in court in November.
Well, we showed CCTV of a man wanted in connection with conning money from an elderly couple in Hampshire. 7 callers came up with the same name. 48-year-old Albert Brazil from West Sussex was arrested. He's been charged with burglary.
Over the years, Crimewatch viewers have helped solve some of Britain's most infamous crimes. The murder of Julie Dart, the kidnap of Julie Slater, the kidnap and killing of little James Bulger.
The railway rapist, the M25 rapist, the paedophile killers of Jason Swift, of Barry Lewis, of course, of Sarah Payne too. There are so many others.
But few better prove what we can do with your help than what we can show you now. A crime that gripped the country, the shooting of 7-year-old Tony Ann Byfield, along with a man she thought of as her dad.
Police in London are investigating the murders of a 7-year-old girl and her father. They say the little girl has been shot.
Tony Ann Byfield, 7 years old, shot in the back, and the youngest victim of the escalating gun violence in Britain.
Without Crimewatch, Joel Smith would not have implicated himself in the murders. Without Crimewatch, the witnesses wouldn't have come forward. Without Crimewatch, I wouldn't have solved this crime. We knew nothing. The reason for that being simply there was no eyewitness to this crime at all. No one saw a suspect. There was no closed-circuit television footage leading up to the crime scene that would have identified any car or any person running away from the scene. And clearly, although we spent an enormous amount of time, effort and money trying to retrieve some forensic evidence from what, after all, was only a 12-foot square room, there was nothing.
The only thing police had going for them was a nationwide revulsion at someone putting a bullet in the back of a little girl.
I like playing with Barbie dolls. She has long hair. She has it down to here.
Does she?
Actually down to her feet, so she can long it out the window.
Oh, right.
Bertram Byfield, the man she was killed with, the man she thought of as dad, had served 9 years for selling crack cocaine, and someone had tried to kill him before. 1 year on from the murders, and the police had drawn a blank. They hoped Crimewatch could produce a breakthrough, and we focused on Byfield's gang, the British link-up crew.
From that particular appeal, what we actually got was a member of the public phoning in to Merseyside Police, and the comment was, Joel Smith did it, and he's confessed to this person, and this is where he lives. Now, because the whole appeal was based on a completely different line of inquiry, that made that particular piece of information much more powerful. That was the breakthrough moment. Without a doubt, at that point I knew I had to go all out against Joel Smith.
Right, just keep your eyes on him. Yeah.
The idea was to find Joel Smith, get close to him and record him confessing to the murders. The officers from Operation Trident and Merseyside's armed unit tracked him for months between London and Liverpool.
The trouble was, he was such a volatile character that he was travelling up and down the country from address to address, using a motorbike, different cars, driving at high speed. It's just impossible to get anywhere close to him, or to find a place where he was actually going to put his head down for the night.
But Smith was taken off the streets for other violence, not least for slashing the throat of his mum's partner. He was jailed for 3 years.
I'm thinking, I'm never going to get this man. He's in prison for 3 years. How the hell am I going to get the evidence against him?
But being shut away made Smith open up.
So what are you in for? Me? Slashed my mum's boyfriend. I killed a little girl. But they ain't got me for that.
But the odds on getting him were about to get shorter.
One of the most notorious crimes of recent years was the shooting of a child, Tony Ann Byfield. If you remember, her father was murdered in front of her, probably by another drug dealer, and because she was a witness, it seems. 7-year-old Tony Ann was shot as well. Now, Neil Basu is looking into this case.
I'm not going to see the other side of this wall.
Yesterday,
The aim of Crimewatch was quite simple, and in fact it was a very blunt tool. I didn't mess around. I gave a description of a man who could only have been Joel Smith. And I knew that Joel Smith watched Crimewatch, and I knew if he was watching and listening to what I said, there would be a reaction. I didn't know what that reaction would be, but in the end it was devastating for him.
I can't talk on the phone. Listen, did you view yesterday? You know what it is? The watch thing. View it yesterday. Did you watch it yesterday?
He knew that the phone he was talking on was monitored, that it could be recorded, so he had to talk in guarded language. But it's quite obvious when you hear that first conversation, and that was the pivotal moment in the entire case against Joel Smith, when I knew he was responsible for the murders, is when I heard him first talk to his girlfriend about Crimewatch.
They've got everything. You get me? The clock is ticking.
Within days of Crimewatch, 2 other prisoners also spoke of Smith's confessions. But would he be so talkative with the police?
Joel Smith. My name is Detective Chief Inspector Neil Basu. I've been investigating the murders of Tony and Tony Ann Byfield, and I'm arresting you on suspicion of those crimes. Do you understand?
I speak English perfectly well.
He was put straight into a car and driven straight back to London, and he was interviewed by a team that had been hand-picked as the best interviewers on the squad. There is an absolute eureka moment. He puts himself in the crime scene.
I banged on the side of the door.
Okay, then what happened?
I waited for a while, banged on the door again. Then he came out and opened the door.
Worried about forensics, Smith put himself at Byfield's flat, but earlier.
I know from all the work that we'd done into the movements of Tony and Tony Ann that they could not possibly have been in that flat together on that day, at that time.
And here's the CCTV clincher. Bertram and Tony Ann weren't at the flat earlier.
You still didn't notice what was on the bed, or?
His daughter was on the bed.
His daughter was on the bed? Right, well, describe his daughter for me.
Just a little chocolate skin little girl.
And how old would you say she was?
I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
No.
But you saw, what was she doing?
Just sitting on the bed.
Was she doing anything?
As far as I remember, no, she was just sitting on the bed.
Did she look at you?
Yeah.
She did?
Yeah, I said hello.
Joel Smith was the last thing Tony Ann saw. At the Old Bailey on August the 4th, Smith was found guilty of the double murder. He was told he'd serve a minimum of 40 years. But it's not over.
I'd never believed Joel Smith acted alone, I still don't. As far as people who thought it might have been him and didn't come forward, well, now you know, and it's never too late. I mean, what I would say is, for those people, don't think just because he was convicted that's the end of the matter. If other people have got information, they should come forward now.
So if you know anyone involved with Joel Smith in the murder of Tony Ann Byfield, call 0500 600 600. And it's interesting, Nick, isn't it, that not one but two Crimewatch shows played a vital part in getting that result?
Yeah, the first one, of course, came up with the name and an address and one confession, but the second one really did nail that confession. And Rav, we've had some really great calls tonight.
We've had an absolutely overwhelming response on the Heather Barnett murder in Bournemouth back in 2002. Even more. We've got well in extent of 150 calls. Just look at this lot. I have no doubt the key to that murder lies in here. We have had several names suggested for the killer. It's over 4 years old. It just shows how much of an impact this has had on the local community and the Crimewatch viewers. Please, though, no more calls on the type of hammer used. We just need to find out the guy that did this.
We're going to have some fantastic stuff to tell you, an update, I think. You can find details of all tonight's cases on the website. All the Instant Room local numbers are listed there too, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. Our phone lines here are open until midnight tonight, then again from 7:30 in the morning until midnight tomorrow.
We're back after the news course with Crimewatch Update at 10:35 later in some regions. Do join us if you can.
Crimewatch next time's on Wednesday, the 1st of November. Meanwhile, don't have nightmares, at least not on our account. Sleep well, please. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.